struggling to market to your ideal clientele with old branding that worked for you years ago? This branding gap is playing a huge role in your current client conversion rate, and you may not even know it. We've heard it all before. My website doesn't matter that much, or I'll get to it eventually, but years go by and yet you're still asking the same question. Why am I still working the same weddings at the same price point with no growth? So what does your current brand and website say about you? Does your copy actually captivate your ideal clientele, or are they quickly closing your site and connecting with someone else? It's time to give your brand some pampering at the Creative Cabana, your all-inclusive strategy and design studio. With over a decade of experience as wedding vendors, their full-service team knows exactly how powerful great branding can be for your business growth. Whether you need a complete brand refresh or just a touch-up with services like website design, brand identity, or copywriting, they've got you covered. And for filmmakers out there, they also specialize in logo animations so that your film can feel that much more elevated. This is something I just invested in, and it's brought an entirely new look to my films. So you poured your heart and soul into your business. Now it's time for a brand that connects with your customers on every level. Visit their website today and use our discount code WGY300 for $300 off your first project at creativecabana.co. Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, build our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our firsthand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast. Hello, We Got You podcast. Welcome to another episode of the We Got You podcast. Hannah and I are excited, sad, ready, not ready for this podcast episode because this is our last podcast episode of the We Got You podcast for now. It has been such a hard decision. It's taken us a long time to make this decision just because of everything, of all the growth we've seen this last year. It's really hard to not continue something that is growing so fast. This year we have tripled downloads that we have in the past 4 years, which is insane. Even saying it out loud on this podcast, it hurts. But we have both come to the decision that with our time and our energy, we are only given so much of that to pour into our lives, our families, our careers. We both have a lot going on in our other careers right now and in our personal lives that we want to just pour more energy and more time into. And we've accomplished our goal. We created We Got You, and Han would talk more about this. Created We Got You, and we knew what we wanted to accomplish with it, and we've done it, and it's been so amazing. But we both have just realized that there is a lot that we need to pour our energy into. And so We Got You, unfortunately, was something that we realized is a chapter we need to close. And I know for many of you, you're like, what the heck? Maybe you're listening to this right as it's airing. Maybe you're listening to this days later. Maybe it's a week since you've listened and this is coming at quite a shock, or you haven't been on social media yet. There was no, we've known about this for quite a while, but we didn't want to make this public. Just because we wanted We Got You to stay exactly how it was until the very, very end. But this has been a decision that we have thought so much on, and we are so sad. Truly, Hannah was literally crying before this episode.
What?
I'm sorry to
Emma just brought me to tears.
In tears. But we know that it is the right decision. Han?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because like Emma was saying, we've known this for several months. And so we talked several months back of just like what our goals look like in our own businesses, in our lives, with our families and everything for the next 5 years.
Mhm.
Like, what does that look like? What do you envision? And unfortunately, we
Yeah.
just didn't see ourselves having that time, energy, and everything for the podcast to fit in it when we
Mhm.
know what 100% looks like, giving 100% to the podcast. We
Yeah.
didn't see us being able to still give that same 100%. And we just feel like we wouldn't serve you guys really well if we were working on half a tank and if we weren't giving you our 100% and giving you our best. And knowing that the episodes will live on forever, and knowing that we will keep our community together, like everything's going to
Yeah.
stay up. Instagram will still be there. Our Facebook group is still open. We will still be active in all of those areas. Is like really good knowing that that community is still there and we're not losing anything. We're just not
Yeah.
continuing to create, which is just crazy because we've known about it for so long. But even today, just like when you're like, it's our last one, I was like, no, it's not, but it is. It's just like, I don't know. I think it's like that reality of it is just really, really sad. But like Emma was saying, there's just different things, and there's like no scandal behind this either. I feel like sometimes when things end, I'm always the first one to be like, okay, but really, why are you like stopping?
That's
Like, what
so
is it?
true.
And there's no scandal. There's really nothing. Like, I know for myself personally, like my husband and I want to start a family. And anybody out there who has kids, I'm sure you guys know how much energy
Mhm.
and time that is, and just like how much your business isn't a priority anymore. Like, you want to make your kids that priority, and that's something I want to give to my future kids. So like we just
Yeah.
both had things in our lives where we're just like, we are just going in different paths than the podcast. But that being said, like the reason we started it, the reason we're here, the reason like we've built the podcast into what it is, really truly was to provide that education, to create that community with you guys. And we feel like, and hopefully you guys feel the same way, but we really feel like we've got that with the podcast. Like, we got and
Yeah.
accomplished those things that we really wanted to create within the podcast. We wanted to have that education, those topics, the things that we wanted to cover back when we were in our first year or second year or even fourth
Yeah.
or fifth year of, running our own businesses. We wanted to have those conversations that we wish that we had had. We wanted to start those topics and start the education and start all of that for what we wish that we had had when we were beginning. And even now, like, it's crazy how much
Yeah.
we have been providing for the podcast and how much I'm like, oh, we're putting out all this education, but how much the podcast has truly helped us and like helped us really open up and have those conversations and build that community. Like, it's just been absolutely incredible. And so being able to have those episodes live forever, you guys can go back anytime and re-listen to episodes, rewatch episodes, making sure that that stuff continues to stay available, accessible, and free for you
Mhm.
guys, as well as having this community is open, I think like means the most to Emma and I. And like, that's why we started in the first place. And so that's something that will never change. Like, that's something we always want to have be accessible and available.
Yeah, and just like knowing that we have created a community that feels like a fresh breath of air. I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of communities around. There's a lot of different resources, and Hannah and I just coming in as like two females in the industry who were like, "Hey, like we just want to create a community that is just like nothing but supportive. That is exactly what we wanted to do. And it's been so cool because when we first started, we got you. I mean, like we were also kind of new ish. I mean, we started
Yeah.
in 2021 and wait, no, we started in
No, that's
2020.
crazy.
LOL. We started it
Oh, sorry. I wasn't
2021.
shaking my head for you. I'm
No.
just like disbelief. It's been that
Yeah.
long.
We started January 1st, 2021, and we have done 209 episodes. We have, out of 4 consecutive years, we've missed one single Monday. And I think it was because that Monday literally fell on Christmas Day. And we were like, we don't need it. Like, let's not compete with Christmas here. But every single week we have come out with a podcast episode, which is
Mhm.
wild to say. And I think for both of us, it was just a really hard reality. Like, so many people are like, how do you guys do it? Like everything that you guys do. And the reality is, like, you can't do it all. You can't do it all. Like,
Mhm.
you can, but you can't. And for both Hannah and I, it was, hey, we've got things going on in our careers. We are not at a point right now where we're willing to give the podcast 90% and give our careers 10. And I think,
Mhm.
and I am not going to speculate, but I know like a lot of people who run podcasts, they're able to give their podcast their all and, like not do as much maybe on different sides of their business. But for us, we still have a lot that we want to accomplish in our careers. And like Hannah said, starting a family, like I've been running WFW and like loving it. So there does come this point in time where you have to evaluate, hey, like what do we have the time for? And again, like Hannah said, like we've accomplished our goals and we have just realized that, hey, like we're not willing to give up. We're not willing to give up our main business right now. And that needs to be at the forefront of all the goals that we are chasing. But yeah, like Hannah said, LOL, no scandal. I think that's absolutely hilarious, but it's a really good point because I wasn't even thinking about that, but I was like, you're right. People are going to definitely be like, OMG, like
I
what really
would.
happened?
I would be trying to get
Yeah,
the
that would be
gossip.
me too. I'd be like with my popcorn and be like, but no, you're going to see Hannah and I at so many more events. I mean, one, we work together all the time too. Like we just like get to go to a lot of really cool events together. So we're obviously like, if any of you did not know this, Hannah and I are best friends, like outside of this podcast. So we're not just
Yeah, we're
business
never
partners.
breaking up.
Yeah. We're not just business partners. We're also truly best friends. And so it's which has even honestly made it a really cool transition because I mean, her and I both had to just like really like lean into like the business side of it and be like, hey, this doesn't affect our friendship at all. Like, what is best for us? And thankfully, like very much thankfully, it was the same for both of us, which I mean, we're very, very fortunate because we have both been in business endeavors where it's one-sided or things like that have happened. And it's not a fun side of business to be on. So that to say, it's so wild how far we've come and what we've accomplished. I mean, gosh, Han, like we have spoken with like over like 50 guest speakers, which is insane.
Yeah. I think that's the craziest thing is like how many people we've gotten to learn from with the podcast. Like as much as I'm like, we wanted to provide free education, it was also like, I guess I didn't realize when we started this, how much of that education like I'd be soaking in too because of all those guest speakers. Like that's what's wild, from planners to photographers, videographers, like VAs, everyone that we've gotten to hear from has helped build this podcast.
Yeah. And when we originally started the podcast too, this is what I think is crazy. When we originally started this podcast, it was for all wedding creatives. It was for photographers, videographers, florists, hair and makeup, planners. Like we really catered to like everyone in the wedding industry, which was super great. But I think we then realized like there was a point in time where we were like, okay, we kind of need to like niche down and like really just target photo and video because that's obviously the careers that we were in. But even before that, I mean, we were able to talk with multiple different florists. We were able to talk, I mean, we talked to like really everyone on the wedding spectrum. And it's been really cool because I do think at the beginning, I remember like our first guest speaker ever was Dawn Charles, and she sat and talked to us. It was like episode 5 or 4. Please don't go back and listen to this first few episodes. Dawn was amazing. We were cringe. Oh my gosh. I like podcast recording has taught me podcast recording has taught me so much on how to like dialogue with other people, because I remember when we first started and it was so cringe.
Well, like we were even together. We were in the same place. Like we wouldn't record from different states or different rooms. Like we were together. And so we'd like, like maybe tap the other person or point to them when it was like their turn to talk. Like we're learning so much. And it was just like even starting in the like guest bedroom together, like podcast recording in whatever time we had and putting out what we could. Like I just think that's wild to see how much has changed.
Yeah. And even just like getting Dawn Charles, getting like Forestry Films, David Reynosa, getting Maya Nichols, getting the legal page. Like they were a lot of our first early guest speakers. And Monique Sarah before she had retired. Like I remember the feeling of like getting some really big guest speakers in our industry that was the coolest thing ever, was being like, oh my gosh, they must believe in us because like this podcast has just started and they're willing to like hop on an episode with us and just like chat through business. And I mean, like we've talked about so much, like we've dove into business, we've dove into mindset. I think there's so much power in being able to talk about the emotional side of running your business. I remember an episode that we talked to Larkin Kendall. We talked to her about like being a parent in the wedding industry. And obviously neither one of us are parents yet, but this was such a moving episode because we had so many people who reached out and were like, thank you for creating this. Like, I relate to this as a mom, as a father, as just a parent who works and is trying to be a parent at the same time. Like, just to be able to have those conversations with people that other people idolize, for them to come on and be like, nah, this is some real life stuff that we're going through too. This isn't some like highlight reel. I think those episodes have meant the most, really, like even just talking about the mindset. Are you tired of taking on the entire editing workload yourself? Are you tired of staring at a screen for days on end, feeling burnt out and creatively exhausted? Maybe you've been searching for an editing company for months now, but you can't seem to find one that can truly mimic the high-end quality of films you're looking for to deliver to your clients. If this sounds like you, we couldn't be more excited to introduce to you our friends at Wonderlust Videos. Wonderlust Videos is a post-production service for wedding filmmakers with over 10 years of experience and has served over 700 clients to date. Their full team specializes in seamless and high-quality editing for wedding filmmakers who need to take the workload off their shoulders and trust someone to create a high-end edit. As you know, we're incredibly picky about the partners we work with and the tools and resources we recommend to other photographers and filmmakers. With that being said, I myself, Emma, have gone through the process firsthand to use Wonderlust Videos myself and vet their entire process so that I could recommend them to you today with confidence. Wonderlust Videos can edit your highlight films, social media teasers, doc edits, and so much more. Their team edits on Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve, so it's time to get the help you need and start outsourcing today. You can start with Wonderlust Videos right now at wonderlust-videos.com and use our code WGY10 for 10% off your first project. Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow.
Yeah, and I think it's also crazy too, like the different, even when we like narrowed it down and niched it down to photo and video, the episodes where we can really expand on like the different markets that we can serve. Like, you know, with having so many people coming on and talking about luxury, since that's, you know, where Em and I want to be, are with, you know, business and everything. But then also talking about what that looks like for elopements and destination weddings and how that can still be luxury or it can still be high end. You know, having the Hearns on was, I remember, like a pinch me moment because there's someone I've always looked up to, even though I'm not in the elopement space. Having like Adventure Instead on, I like have a friend who told me, she's like, after listening to that like elopement episode and talking about destination elopements, she's like, I realized like that is what I've been wanting to do, but just didn't really like know that I could do it. And she's now put her 100% into doing it and is doing an incredible job with it. And so it's just like so fun getting to know that, you know, even though they're not following exactly like what Em and I want, like our niches, that we had a podcast that I feel like regardless of what our niche is in the photo and video world, we're able to serve and have people on that talk about all of it. Again, huge learning for us because I'm not in the elopement space. And so getting to hear about that and learn about that and really ask questions, I feel like was so incredible to have and like have as a piece of the We Got You podcast.
I honestly couldn't agree more. And I think that that's something that I've definitely been so proud of because I think it can be really easy to really niche down. And I think there's so much benefit too of having platforms and spaces that are very niche, because then for those of you that are like, no, I want to be in luxury space, you can go somewhere and all you're going to learn is luxury. There's so much benefit to that. But I think like even just for us, it was like, we started out in like, I started out in like the elopement space and I was like doing like mountain stuff and like adventure stuff to then find myself into the luxury market, like mountain stuff. That was a pretty good accent. But to then find myself in the luxury market, I didn't that entire journey didn't happen like because I knew day one that I wanted to be in the luxury market, right? Like I didn't know that I wanted to be in the luxury market at first. And so I think it's really cool because that the platform has served all photographers and videographers, all different types of creatives, all different types of markets, whether you want to be in elopements or luxury weddings. Like it's been really cool to get to talk to everyone. And I also think like some of my other favorite episodes, like I loved getting to talk from like the couple's perspective. Like we did an episode with Mike and Haley and we
Yes.
talked like, okay, well, what do styled shoots look like from a model's perspective? And we talked to oh my gosh, I am totally spacing. Why am I spacing? Maddie. Oh my gosh, literally one of my brides, one of my incredible brides. We talked to her about like from a bride's perspective, what is it like looking for your vendors? And I thought those two episodes were really, really cool because obviously this podcast episode is free education for you guys, but it also has taught Hannah and I so much. It's taught us so much getting to sit with so many different creators, even from a client couple perspective, even from a model's perspective, just getting to hear their opinions and how they see the wedding industry has helped shaped us so much in the way that we run our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you were saying about how there's ones where it's like the emotional side or the personal side to running your own business, the episodes that maybe aren't straight educational content, I feel like are super valuable. And that's like why another huge reason why Em and I are like, okay, we want to keep these episodes up for us like forever.
Yeah.
Literally, they're not going to be taken down. Our community will stay up. These episodes will stay up. And why we highly, highly, highly recommend that if you feel like you're, maybe stuck in a rut with photography or videography, or maybe you don't feel like you're having great bookings, or you're trying to, figure something out in your business, or you need that motivational push, go back to some of those episodes. I understand that there are a few episodes that might not age super well when it comes to like tips for social media, because that is ever evolving. But when it comes to all of those pieces of like, like how you can connect with a couple, how you can really take care of yourself when it comes to running your own business. Even having Monique talking about, I think it was family, like building family, stressful pieces of running a business, like things that I feel like don't have a conversation necessarily in this space. How do we overcome those struggles? What are we facing right now? Having Emily Vandehay coming on and talking about relationships with vendors, those are things that will forever be relevant. So like making sure that like, even though I know we're not going to be producing new episodes, that you guys are going back and listening to those things where you feel like they're relevant in your business, when you're hitting those spots, maybe when you're in that season or you need that advice, or you're looking for a specific piece of education, or how do I do exactly this? Like go back and find that, because like Emma was saying, we have over 200 episodes to like almost like cherry pick from of what do you need right now? What are you looking for right now? And how can this help you exactly where you are in your business? While it's so sad that we're not like making more episodes, I feel very proud of where we are with what we have created. And I think I stand very like firmly and like we have put good out there. And like I really hope that you guys see that too, and also keep learning from it and keep listening to it, and like have that as a reminder moving forward that it will always be there for you, even if you need that, refresh or re-encouragement or whatnot. Like find that episode that you feel like is gonna help you with where you are.
Yeah. And even just genuinely like the last 15 episodes alone, like the last 20 episodes alone have been so nitty gritty into the education that we're offering. Like I honestly like those episodes, like obviously being the most relevant, being the ones that we have just more recently done. Like we haven't brought on a guest speaker in I think like 15 episodes, because like both Hannah and I are like, no, like we want to give you as much as we have out of us closing this chapter. And so it's been really cool to see like so many different elements in the last 15 episodes that just have so much valuable information in them. And yeah, it's been an insane journey. It's sad sometimes because of course, like sometimes it's like, yeah, like I wish that we were at a stage where this was all we wanted to pour our time into. And I know a lot of people, they get there where they're like, nope, we're going to give this our all. But we're not there yet. We still got a lot to give to our wedding businesses and to the event space and to families and our personal life. And the reality is we can't do it all, and that's okay. But for everyone, every single human who has supported us along this journey, like We can name people, which we won't, but we can name people who have been with us literally since day one, who have been in our DMs, been so excited, and who have continued to cheer us on genuinely almost 5 years later. It means so much more than you know. And I think especially over the past few months, obviously Hannah and I have known that this was coming to a close. But in the last few months, a lot of people have just been like, we value this community so much. We're so glad that, these episodes have come out. Thank you for bringing on so-and-so. Like, and we're not like, don't even mean it in a way that's like, oh, like, look at us at all. But we just want you to know that those comments, especially in the last few months, have meant so much to us, and we're thankful. We know, unfortunately, that this was the right time for us to close the chapter, being that like with our own growth and projects that we want to pursue. But we couldn't be more proud of what we've built, and we're so thankful to every single one of you for your support and your love and just being here with us throughout this whole journey.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like, while we are not every single week, every Monday morning, going to be like popping into your Spotify or your podcast or whatnot, we're still here. We ain't going anywhere. Like, we have some incredible goals that we have both shared with each other in our own businesses and our lives and stuff, where it's like, when we were talking about, is this the right time to kind of switch focus and maybe let go of the podcast and really pursue other goals and things and put our time and energy into other pieces that we really want to. Like, sharing those goals with each other, we were both like over the moon for each other of like, I'm so excited. Like, I can completely see, like, especially for Emma, I can see where she's going in the next 5 years. And I was like, I want her to be there. And so it's just like, while it's unfortunate the podcast isn't a piece of it, it's like so exciting to see what we have planned in the next like 5 years and to see where we are going with our businesses and like how much that is going to grow and change and just like ever evolving. But while we might not be every single Monday in your ear or whatnot, or whenever you listen, our DMs are always open. Like, we've keep saying, the podcast community is always going to be open. Like, we'll have our Facebook up. Like, we want you guys to still stay connected and have that community. Whenever you guys are listening to new episodes, like, pop in your thoughts, let us know. If you're re-listening to an episode, if you're listening to some for the first time that were maybe like a year or two ago, like, still have that community open and whatnot. And if you ever need us, pop into our personal DMs, our like my photo, Emma's video, or even the podcast DMs. Like, we still want to make sure that we keep in touch with everybody and like are there for you guys, regardless of not creating new episodes. So
and we're still out there. We're still out there, like, grinding on our careers. And again, like, Hannah and I work together all the time. If any of you are like, hey, like, we want a mentorship, like, reach out to us, because we're still more than happy to meet with you on a call. We're actively, this isn't like we're retiring. This isn't like we're retiring, you guys.
Can you imagine?
We're still very much actively, like I said, like, pursuing our businesses. And so, like, if any of you are like, hey, like, we want to do a mentorship call, or like, what kind of education are you guys offering? Like, reach out to us. Like, stay up on, it's at Hannah Brook Photography, at @McKay_films. I've got the wedding filmmaker workshop. Stay up to date on that. But there's lots coming from us. And we just, I'm like, how can we continue to just drag this out just because? Like, does this podcast episode have to end?
I feel like okay, we're the guest speakers. Here's how you can reach us. But like, actually though, like, my photo account is Hannah Brook Photography. Emma's is McKay_films. Like, reach out if you guys ever need anything. Like Emma said, she has her wedding filmmaker workshop. If you have not gone to one of these and you're a videographer, I do not know what you are doing, but like, please invest in one of her workshops. If there's even still tickets available for the Tennessee workshop at this point that this episode is coming out, please make sure that you buy one. And if there is not, then get on the waiting list. Like, make sure that your name is known so that you can show up to one of them. But we are both, I come to Emma's workshops and I photograph them. Emma's there, obviously, like, doing a kick-ass job. I can say that on the podcast. This is our last episode, but like, be there. Like, we would love to see you guys there. But that's where you guys can find us. But please just like stay in touch. Again, we've absolutely loved the last 4+ years of this podcast and dreaming it up, what it was going to be even before we did our first episode. And so just kind of reflecting on all of that today. But yeah, again, we appreciate you guys more than you know for all of your support, for everything the last several years, for making this podcast truly what it is. Like, that's all because of you guys. So without, like Emma said, dragging this on, thank you so much. And we will not see you guys next week, but we are always on Instagram and Facebook. So
that is not, no, that is, I refuse. You can't say that to
I feel like
end.
it's always how I end it. And now it's like, well,
And we
we will not see you guys next week.
I'm
so cringy.
You can't say that.
What do I say?
I need something
on Instagram.
Okay, well, we're keeping this in here. We're keeping this podcast episode. I just can't with the fact that, and we will not see you next week on the We Got You podcast. Sorry, say any. Can you? We're keeping all this in the podcast episode because what better way to end? But can you say something heartfelt?
All right, guys. Yeah, here's my heartfelt goodbye. We appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for tuning in today on the We Got You podcast.
We do. We love you, and we always got you.
That was good. We got you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.